Hey guys, Patrick with Iron Rock Off-Road here. Today, using the JK behind me, we're going to talk about how to maximize our flex. Now, when we talk about flex, that can mean a couple of different things depending on the setup. We could be talking about our up travel, or we could be talking about our down travel. And a lot of that comes down to shock lengths and other limiting factors. But shock length is one of the things we're going to concentrate on more heavily today. Okay, so when we talk about our up travel and down travel, a lot of that's going to be happening with the amount of shock travel that we have. You can see we've already disconnected our sway bar links. The limiting factor right now in this suspension is going to be the shock. And you can see we are about as extended as it is going to get with the help of this forklift on the other side. Now we're going to walk to the other side and we're going to show you how compressed that one is. Alright, now if we take a look at the shock on this side, we're going to see that it's pretty close to compressed, but we do still have a couple inches available of up travel. And that's being stopped from fully compressing by the extended bump stops. Now, the bump stops are already tuned for limiting factors like a raised track bar bracket and upsized tires and things like that. So we aren't looking for more up travel. We just want to make sure that we're utilizing what's available to us. Okay. Ready? Yep. Okay, so a little before and after. Before we do any changes to suspension, checking the upward travel. Taking a measurement from the outside of the tread, we're looking at about 34 inches. So we're going to see how that changes with the long travel upgrade. Okay, so after we've used the forklift to do a little bit of flex testing, we've seen on one side that we're under compressing the shock and that the other side is reaching full extension. So what that tells us is that we can run a longer shock. Now, to do that, we are going to have to look at some supporting upgrades to make sure that everything is taken in account for. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the shop and see what else we have to take care of. Alright, so we got the JK on the hoist in the shop here. We've got the wheel off. Our next kind of steps for disassembly, what we're going to be addressing, we're going to have to get the shock out of here because that's what we're exchanging. Then we'll get the coil out of here because we're going to have to deal with the bump stops, and that'll kind of open things up so we can do what we're looking to do. Got that done on the other side, so let's head over there. Alright, so you can see here now on this side we've got everything disassembled and removed so we can kind of start the project here. Just a quick note, you might even be able to notice now that we've removed that shorter shock how much more freedom the axle has to droop. Might not do quite that much with the next shock, but you can see that the potential is there for more travel. Alright guys, we've got the new shock installed. We can see that we do have a lot more travel here now. Now we kind of have to look at what else has to happen. What supporting mods do we need? Any other just changes? First is going to be our brake hoses. Now this vehicle previously had installed a longer steel braided brake hose. The ABS wire was rerouted, so you can see full travel, we're fully extended here, and we've still got slack, so that's a good thing. Another one to note is our axle breather tube. Now this one's pretty tight. It might be okay, but we may want to address it, either reroute it or just get a whole new extended one. From there, we're going to start talking about the other things that need to happen to accommodate this new travel. Alright guys, now that the longer shock is installed, we can move on to some of the supporting modifications that we need to accommodate that longer travel. The first thing we're going to talk about is bump stops. The first one I'm going to show you, we're not actually using on this setup, but it is an available option. It's a fixed machine 2 3/4 inch extension that's going to go in place of the factory bump stop. You basically just remove this, bolt this into place, fish the hardware up through the top, secure it, and then you're going to put the bump stop into there. Now, we don't need it for this particular setup, but if you were going for a really, really long travel or like a lot more down travel, it could also be used as a retention device. So moving on to what we are going to be using for our bump stops, we are going to be using these adjustable, stackable bump stop extensions. Now these are good from 1 to 4 inches of extension, and they're adjustable in 1/2 inch increments. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure our shock travel and measure the distance between the bump stop and the landing pad and see where we need to be. Okay, so now it's time to start tuning the bump stop extension for the longer shock. Now, for today's purposes, we are focusing mostly on the shock. The other thing to consider is when we're tuning our bump stops is tire clearance. Now, my particular setup, I'm only running a 35-inch tire. I do already have my fenders cleared out. I don't really need to worry about that clearance, so I am focusing just on the shock absorber. So I'm just going to take a couple of quick measurements and see where we're at so far. Okay, so it looks like my extension is a little tall, so I'm just going to take out a section here. Really nice feature about these stackable bump stops. I'm going to take another measurement here. Okay. And that's about exactly where I want it. I just need to tighten it down. All right, moving on to the next item that we need to take care of to accommodate the longer travel, we're going to be talking about installing lower coil retainers. Now, we've got a two-piece system here. It comes with 3, but you're only going to use 2. The first one, this is going to be our top plate. That's what's going to rest right on top of the coil. And then we've got a thick plate designated with a single notch and a thin plate designated with 2 notches. Now, your wire diameter on your coil is what's going to determine which one we want to use. For our Iron Rock off-road coils, we know we run a thicker wire diameter, so we're going to use the thicker plate. All right, now the way that these installs, we're going to take that bottom plate and we're going to get it right under the corner of our coil pad here, and we want to make sure that we're nice and hugged up against the contour of that coil. And once we've got a spot that we like, go ahead and mark our hole for drilling. All right, now we've got our hole drilled. We're going to go ahead and get that bottom plate in place. Then we're going to put our top plate on, and that is going to have some overlap on top of that coil. And now you're going to notice that top plate doesn't sit perfectly flat on the bottom plate, and that's okay, because that's going to create a little bit of tension once we torque the hardware. Alright, so now we've got everything installed, we're back on the ground, so now we can take it back outside, get the forklift out again, so we're going to check our flex, see what we've gained, but also make sure that anything that we tune as far as like our bump stop extensions, make sure those are all landing in the right spot for us. So let's head outside. Alright guys, we are back outside with the rig with all the parts on there. We've got the forklift lifting up one side of it, so why don't we take a closer look and see what the results are. Alright, so a closer look here, we can see that we've got a lot more shaft exposed, so we are getting more down travel on this side. We're going to see that our spring has fallen a little bit. Now this is completely normal and expected on a linear rate spring. We are going to see its free length exposed here, but the biggest thing is it's not going anywhere. We got those retainers in place so that it's not going to fall out. So this is completely normal and expected. And also just for the finer details, we do have plenty of slack in our brake hose and our ABS line, so everything's looking really good on this side. And if you don't mind, please ignore all the asphalt on my tire. It's hot. Our parking lot's literally melting. Alright, now moving off over to the other side here, we can see how the suspension looks compressed. We can see that inside the coil we are getting a little bit of engagement there, but we do have a little bit of up travel left on that shock, but that's okay because we were able to get more down travel without sacrificing any of our up travel. All right, so if we get the tape out here, we're measuring from the same spot as we measured last time, at about 36 and about 3/4. So it looks like we gained about 2 3/4 inches in our travel there, that's pretty substantial when we talk about maximizing our suspension and getting the most we can. And keep in mind, the forklift test isn't perfect. The true test is on the trail, but this gives us a really good indication of what we accomplished. All right, guys, that concludes the video on how to maximize the articulation on the front of our Jeep. Now you might be left wondering why kits don't come like this right out of the box. We have to keep in mind that when manufacturers put together these kits, they're meant for the masses. They're meant as a one size fits all. What we did here today was based on the things that we've changed on this Jeep, based on the tire size, the wheel offset, the cut fenders, additional bracketry we've added. So the things that we did were very specific to this vehicle, as what you do to your vehicle is going to be specific to you. And we hope that what we went through here today will help you fine-tune and maximize your vehicle's potential. Alright, for more videos like this, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Also, make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our website at ironrockoffroad.com, and always feel free to give us a call, 952-210-7185.